And I can't wait to for you guys to share things with me as I share things with you. Yes, and well, let's get to it. Obviously, we haven't got much time. Well, my name is Richard, as you can see on my name tag, and I've been a missionary for 8 years now, non-stop, consecutive, and I've been doing frontline missions. I've been in the jungles of the Amazon, and now I'm in Romania, which is in the eastern part of Europe. So I know about country living because you can't get any more country than the Amazon jungle, right? And in that part of the world, I was the director of a school, which I had to obviously manage the finances. And that right now, I'm a part of the board of the school here in Romania, where my wife and I serve as missionaries. My wife is actually the principal of this school here in Romania. It's a teaching true education. I guess we can talk about that some other time. And I got green fingers because I do self-supporting. So right now we are reaping. You call it a courgette. We are reaping a whole load of those right now. And that is basically funding what we have to do next, our next project. So I have an idea about country living finances as well as project management finances. And my favorite is personal finances because that's what I teach. I teach personal finances here at the school to the higher classes, because obviously when they leave school, there's no point earning a whole bunch of money and then not knowing what to do with it, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's basically in a nutshell my background. I've tried to make it short as possible because it's full of mysteries and wonders, so I say. Okay, so as you can see by the poster, you can see that we're talking about a crisis. A crisis is something that's taken by surprise most of the time, and it's something that can knock you off your feet if you're ill prepared. Now, as you see in the last few months, probably 6 months now, this crisis of the coronavirus has hit not only the UK or Romania, but it's hit the entire globe, right? And it's quite funny because just before we had to close the school because of coronavirus, my students and I did a survey. And this survey was to bring out financial health of the people in this area that we live in. So we journeyed to the town here in Romania, in Togmareș. We journeyed to the town and we did a survey to bring out this financial health of the people who, average, what's the average income, what's the average debts and outlay and expenses. And we found out that 90+% of the people could not survive 1 month after not being paid. 1 month without being paid. And for me, that is serious because we surveyed over 200 people, right? In an hour and a half, we surveyed 200 people. And this was the striking and not so striking result of being prepared for a crisis. And I'm thinking those 200 people, 190 of them are really suffering right now. Yeah, and you got to ask yourself, am I part of that 90+% who are not prepared to go 1 month without being paid? Am I a part of that circle? Because if you are, then you're not prepared for a crisis. You're really not prepared for a crisis. And maybe if the government didn't give out extra benefits for those who are in crisis, then maybe you wouldn't be so fortunate in terms of your finances right now. Okay, so we have to realize not only the times we live in, but in general, I'm going to cover in general about personal finances in the small time that I have to help you, to guide you through a crisis. Okay, does that sound good? Sounds good?
Yes, it sounds good.
Sounds good? Great. Okay, so what we're going to do, first thing of all, is to find out why we are not prepared. And what can we do to be prepared? Okay, so one thing I know is that we are not prepared is because we don't have a very crucial thing called a budget. If I did a survey of the 75 people that are in this room, I would like to ask you, and if you want to private message me as well, this will be, I'll make it live, right? This is dealing with people that we're doing right here. I'm not dealing with the general people outside this room or outside this virtual room. I'm dealing with you guys, right? And if I say to you, have you got a budget? Can you respond to my personal, have you got a budget?
No.
Oh, okay. Somebody said verbally. That's good. Somebody said yes. Okay, we're getting some yeses. I'm very happy about that. Okay, I see some yeses. Is yeses a word? Okay. Okay, I see some no's. Okay. Okay, so if we don't have a budget, it's like being on a diet. Nobody likes a diet and nobody likes a budget. It's simple. Nobody likes a diet, and same thing, nobody likes a budget. And I know this because I'm a vegan. I've been vegan for 8-9 years, around about. And one thing I realize that people they get their desires for certain types of food is far greater than their desire to have a good health. They desire good health. Everybody desires good health, but it has to outweigh your desire for this tasty food, right? And it's the same thing with a budget. Your goals in life, you surviving a crisis, your goals in life also has to outweigh the impulse buying that we all tend to have, or even myself tend to have, because you cannot earn what you can spend. Basically, you can outspend what you earn. Mm-hmm. It's very easy. It takes you one day to earn 150 pounds. Let's say that. You can spend that on a new dress or anything in that same day or more. You cannot earn more than you can spend. So what does that mean?
Actually spend it in seconds.
Yes, you can actually spend it in seconds. You can spend 500 now, easy, right? So we can see that we need to have some kind of discipline. Now, people don't like that word either, because growing up, discipline is a negative word. But people don't understand that discipline is a path to happiness. Discipline is a path to happiness. Discipline is a path to good health. Discipline is a plan for financial health. And we have to have discipline because we've got to have long-term satisfaction for short-term loss, right? And what's the short-term loss? Not going to a restaurant randomly, not buying that nice new suit, or looking at a nice new Lexus, or, we have to get out of our mind that we deserve these things. Because if you haven't saved for it, you don't deserve it. That's the seriousness of it. And first of all, before I continue, I'd like to apologize because I speak very blunt about certain things, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't know you personally, and if I hurt your feelings, I don't know, okay? Let's continue. So I'm pretty straightforward because I'm not going to teach you anything new. I'm teaching things that you already know, because you guys are mature enough and old enough to realize that if I don't control myself as a person, if I don't deal with the issues with myself, it's going to affect other areas of my life, relationships, health, money. All these are going to be affected by your character. One discipline affects another discipline, right? So what does the Bible say about a budget and about savings? Well, I believe that the Bible is a manuscript for life. That's what I firmly believe. And if I need to go for something for relationships, I know where to go in that book to get affirmation or to get confirmation, because God wouldn't leave us down here with no plan, right? That's what I believe. And so I believe that about finances. I think finances are important. Now, there's a lot of people, especially in the Christian world, that, money is the root of all evil. This is the mindset. People are afraid of money and think that people that have money are evil, or they did something not so good or not so to get it, basically. This is the mindset. And this comes from the Catholic teachings. If you do, if you do your research, I'm not going to go through that teaching right now. If you do your research, that comes from the mindset that the Catholics were doing to get their money. They tried all sorts, and some things stayed rooted in religion and got transferred to the Seventh-day Adventist thinking. Right? Okay, so money is not evil. Okay, it's like saying a house brick. If I get a house brick, is a house brick evil? Can a house brick go to hell? Right? No. So if somebody evil has a house brick, they can use it to smash your car window. They can use it to smash your house window, right? Now, is it because of the brick why that person became evil? No.
No.
Right? But that same brick given to the right person can build churches, can build houses, can build you a home for your family, can build a wall to protect you. That same brick in different hands can cause you to do something great. Now, I need you to understand this, because money is a magnifying glass of your character. I repeat, money is a magnifying glass of your character, which means that if you're evil, you would see more evil. If you're good, you'll see more good. Now, I was perplexed because I've not always been a religious person. And when I first came into the church, that people had this mindset about money being evil. But then when I read through the Bible for myself, and I looked at all the quotations and all the stories that were being presented to me through the Bible about how Abraham was wealthy, about how Job was wealthy, about how Solomon was wealthy, about how King David was wealthy. I can go on and on and on. People who are wealthy, right? People that are wealthy, who we consider great people, did great things for the Lord, did great things with their money. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? The confusion that we are presenting ourselves. And most of all, I think most of the reasons why is because we believe in ourselves inside of our hearts that maybe we can't attain these things. And we hang on to these myths or lies to secure ourselves in the situation that we are in. And that we glorify, because the Bible does glorify this also, we glorify being poor, because we believe that poor people are more likely to be in heaven. And maybe that is true, but it's not impossible for a wealthy guy to be in heaven. We know that. And so let's not take the piece of paper, what we call money, or piece of plastic these days, what we call money, and label somebody who has money evil, or label somebody that has no money evil, because sometimes people who have no money are also evil, right? The old traditions of the Bible, the Jews were saying to the other people that are poor, God didn't bless you. That's why you don't have nothing. Your sins are stopping you from getting blessings. Right? This is how the mindset's changed from being when you're poor, you're evil. Now it's changed to when you're rich, you're evil. Can you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to do is change your mindset to say that money is not, it's not the money. The money is not the problem.
It's the person who has it
That's it.
or
So
who doesn't have it.
Correct. So then I don't need to continue in this fact. Okay, so now we realize that money is not the issue, but it's the person behind the money that is the issue. We can move forward. Now, what we do with money, like I realize that people have nice cars, and some big houses, nice clothes, new phones. These things are like a disease in our life, right? And not all, I mean, let me explain myself. Sometimes we buy things on credit card. We get a big mortgage because we want to have a nice house to impress the Joneses or the Smiths, right? This is what it is. And what do you know what this is called? In the Bible, it's called breaking the commandments, right? And let me explain myself again. Money is just an object that buys other objects, right? When you buy something that you can't afford, you get a loan, that means you're indebted to somebody. The Bible says what does the Bible say about debt? That it's a very bad place to be. And if we're doing it because we're getting actually the Bible says that we become slaves. We are slaves to a person who's given us the money, right?
Yeah.
So we've made ourselves modern day slave people, right?
Yes.
So if once you start owing, you now are obligated, and if you're not, and now you're committing to your bank or committing to the lender, and you are in bondage, financial bondage. And this is common in every household. Like 90% or more of the households in the entire world that has credit are in debt. Rich people, poor people, they're in debt. And because there's this mindset is that I gotta have this thing, like I gotta have this new couch or this new table from Courts. If you're from Jamaica, the Courts is huge over there. It's incredible. I've never seen it. So in England, it's small, but over there, when I saw it, I said to myself, somebody had their whole house on credit. Imagine if they lost their job, all the furniture's out of their house, But anyway, so we become slaves, and God wants us to be the lenders and not the borrowers.
Amen.
Right? This is not my words I'm speaking, right? So if that's true, that means we have to have money to lend, and this also means we have to have money not to get into debt. Now, let me go back a few steps to where I mentioned the budget. Now, budget exposes the leaks in your purse or your wallet, right? Or your bank account. It exposes the leaks. Where am I spending my money? Where is it going? Why is it here? Why do I have nothing left? Or what do I do with what I have left? Now, you can see who you are as a person. You can see who you are in a financial sense. Because if you do not have a budget, how are you supposed to go from point A, which is where your budget should tell you, to point B or C? It's because if you don't know where you are, how do you know where you're going? Because if you aim for nothing, you certainly get there, right? You get there. And because we don't have a budget, we spend anyhow and anyway. Now, I was happy that a lot of people mentioned that they had budgets here, which is very good because we are preparing for a crisis. But we have a lot of people here that said, no, they haven't got a budget. And this is serious because a budget, what it does, it starts now correcting your character. A budget starts correcting your character. And how does it start correcting your character? You become patient. You don't rush out to buy the new BMW. You save for it. You become patient. Isn't that a godly quality? And it's also a rewarding quality. And, you know, we don't start coveting. And if we do want it bad enough, we know what we need to do. Do it the proper way. Save, put to one side, and work for it. If you want to say, oh, it's only an interest rate of 15% and I can have it now, you're in debt. And this continues until we are trapped. And when you're in a crisis and you have no money because something hits like coronavirus, you have to, you say, I have to borrow. And you don't know how long the crisis is going to last. And you are putting yourself into more payments. So if you couldn't survive before, what do you think if you're going to survive now? Am I making any sense here, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We're talking about a crisis. And so I teach a lot about budgeting. There's different techniques. There's different techniques for different situations also. But let me go over some general ones. Okay, so what you're going to do now is train yourself to be more disciplined. This is the first thing that we need to do. And how do we do this? What I tell most of my people who I speak to about money is that for me to trust you with money and for you to trust yourself with money, you need to have money in front of you and not spend it. Right? Am I making myself clear? If I gotta trust you with money, if you gotta trust yourself with money, you have to make sure that if money is in front of you, you won't spend it. Because sometimes when you put money in front of somebody, all they got is especially depends on the amount, new handbag, shoes, oh, free money. Oh, that's my favorite quotation. Free money. That's like a credit card. Free money. It's not free money. Nothing for free unless it's a gift from a friend or something. It's payment. This is their business. People who give out money for, like a credit card, it's a business for them. How do you think the banks get their nice furniture? Donation? No. Your money they use. Not you personally, I'm just talking you plural, right? So they use your money to buy that nice furniture. They use your money to make those nice bonuses. Bankers make a whole lot of money, millions a year they make. Why and how? They just hold your money, or do they do something else with it? See, and this is what you got to think. Where a lot of people have late payments and all these things, but let's not go there yet. The first thing you have to learn is discipline. Can I look at this bag of money or purse full of money and see something in the shop and not go buy it? And how do we do that in a budget? Well, this is what I teach. I teach save money. Now, I usually say an amount like 10%, but it doesn't matter about what percent it is. It's about the discipline. Now, I say 10% because it's also significant enough to become something special, right? But I also want it to be where if you can't put away, after you do your budget, you realize you can't put away 10%, then try to put away something each month. Because if you do that and you have it there and accumulating, it gets tempting. It gets tempting, even for the best of us, it gets tempting. Right now, my car is a little old and I'm looking for another one, but and it's tempting, but I have other plans with my money, right? So, but I'm looking, and every time a car goes past, I'm looking at the car and I'm thinking, maybe I could just buy that, But it's about discipline. And if we don't discipline ourselves, just like a person who likes to sit down and eat cakes all day because that's what they desire, then you're not going to be financially independent. And for us to go to move to the cities, out of the cities, then we have to be self-sufficient and self-supporting. And how can we do that when we have a mentality of slaves, right? Being in credit, being in debt, even having a mortgage, which is partially an investment, keeps people from moving to the mountains or the hills or the forests. it stops us because don't forget, I've been a missionary for 8 years. I've seen a lot of people come through my organization, and I've been through a few organizations myself. And what I've realized is that some people want to continue mission, but they can't because they have debts they have to go back home to and pay and get jobs, right? And it's a shame because the labels are few already, and we're making it worse by getting ourselves into these situations where we can't move because we are anchored ourselves down into the city. And that's even the same for people who will live in the suburbs or the countryside. They're still tied. They can't move too far away because they're still tied to the city, right? Because they haven't got this, they haven't become self-supporting, self-sustaining, self-sufficient. But to get there, to get to the final goal where we have a place in the country and we are literally self-supporting ourselves and we grow our own things and we have our own little business and whatever. Before we can get there, we have to start where we are and start looking to ourselves and say, this is a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual battle. Money is a reflection of what's going on in our character, and our character is a spiritual battle, right? And what does that mean? It means that I need to stop coveting. I need to control what my eyes see, because if I'm weak in an area, I need to protect that area. If I'm weak about cars or weak about shoes, I should keep myself away from those things, because you're thinking that a budget stops me from doing what I want to do. I earned this money. I spent 1 month earning this money and I want to enjoy myself. Or coronavirus is gone now and I've been locked in the house all this time. I want to spend my money. I want to do something special. I want to go to the Caribbean and I want to have this experience, right? But then we make a wreck of our finances. Now, so I recommend the first thing that we do is put a budget together. A budget will set the discipline to say that imagine having 1 year's savings of 10%. Let's say the average income in England right now is, I don't know, 20,000 for easy math. It's higher, I'm sure. But let's say 20,000. And that means at the end of the year, you'll have 2,000 in savings, right? At 10%. Now, could you survive? Could you not spend that money, 2,000, if it's right in front of you? Could you be disciplined enough to have that 2,000 to one side and not touch it? And this is hard. This is harder than you think, especially when year 2 comes around and it's now, it could be up, if you include interest, maybe you got good interest, it could be even up to 5,000. Could you see 5,000 in your bank and not spend it? And as you go along, at first, it's difficult. Just like any diet, it's difficult at the beginning. But then you get a habit. And then you start seeing that things will start working out, And, things will come into your mind and tempt you, yes. But then, being tempted is not a sin. Just like being tempted to buy something doesn't mean you've purchased it. You just look away and carry on. Or the Bible says, flee as fast as you can. Maybe that's what we need to do sometimes. And so we need to put away some money. We need to start doing that. And it's a disease. It's a disease that we need to overcome. And sometimes having a goal in life or having multiple goals for our money helps us to go through those times where we really want to spend. Now, in my budget, I'll show you my budget. I have a budget where I give 10% to God. I give 5%, to God means tithing. I give 5% as offering. I do 10% savings and 10% investment. And the rest I live off. Actually, no, there's 20% of what my wife and I call slush money, right? And this slush money is what secures me not to spend the savings or the investments. What do I mean by that? If I put 20% where I can do stupid things with it, right, to buy, I don't know, if I was a woman, a crazy shoes or a handbag. You know, or as for myself, a nice new watch or a new phone or something technology, you know, with technology. If I spend it, I'm guilt-free because I know I've spent my crazy money in a set parameter where I've allowed that. Because as much as we have to be disciplined, we also have to enjoy our life while we are here, right? And I believe that that money keeps us on track, right? And so if you have allocated yourself some money to spend it at however you want to, it's a lot easier to save and to invest and to give money to God. It's very easy to do those things because you know that everything has its part, you know, and even that money that you save, right? Even that money that you save, it's for a cause, it's for a reason. It's, you know, and you haven't spent it, but you treat it like an expenditure, right? Okay, so how do you know that if you're in a crisis right now? If you make a budget and you realize your expenses are higher than your income, then you're in trouble. That's what you call a spiral. Okay, I think I got a request. Somebody wants me to repeat something about investments and stuff. Okay, so let me just quickly repeat. So I put 10% for my tithing, right? I put 5% towards offering. Sometimes I put that offering towards missionaries because I know missionaries around the world that need help or causes, but sometimes half of that at least goes to the church. And then where did I get to? Okay, tithing, offering. Okay, then I do 10% saving, 10% that I do, okay, saving, let me just get this right. So that saving would be called active capital, and you got, okay, active investments. Like basically I'm involved in this saving is for an investment of some sort, but it's something that I'm involved in. So it's active, I'm active in that investment. Then there's passive investments, which I call the investments, and that's 10%. And and that will be something that's passive. Okay, so but I call it different names because it's easy for me. So I call it savings, but really it's an investment. So it's savings as in I'm actively involved in that money being spent, and then the investment is passive. Yeah, I think somebody has a hand up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you go ahead. We'll take the hands and the questions and when you finish your presentation.
Okay. How much time do I have left? I need to.
Couple of minutes.
Okay. All right. Let me be quick then. Let me just finish with my budget and maybe that can help somebody. Okay. So I'll run it through quickly. 10% in tithing, 5% in offering, 10% saving, which I'll explain in the questions, and 10% in investments, right? And then 20% slush money, right?
Yes.
And the rest, which is about 50, is, or 45 I have left. That is basically for my, what we call in our home, general funds, which means anything to do with household bills and all these things, all the things that maintain my life, all the things I can't change, right?
Mm.
So that basically is how I do my personal budget, right? And I do according to what I spend. It's not the same for everybody. It's just this. I'm just giving you an example of a living example of why it's important, because there's nothing more powerful, right? That you feel that you don't have the stress of having zero in your bank account. If you had an extra 1,000 right now, cash lying around in your home or your bank account, wouldn't you feel good right now and you secure a little bit safe? You feel a bit safer because God has given us these funds, right? And He's given it for us to survive, to live. If we believe that everything that we have, God has given us, and we mentioned being stewards before. If we're not good stewards, if we spend anyway and anyhow, that's not doing it for God. That's not being a steward, right? And that's how we get into debt, and that's how we become prisoners. And that's how we have to learn to get out of that. And that there's a different strategy I have to getting out of debt, And I've helped some people make big financial decisions. Sometimes they had to stop doing something or to start doing something to make themselves now to overcome this current situation. And this is an ongoing thing. I teach this to a lot of people who want to gain control of their life again, because really money affects relationships, affects relationship with your kids, especially with your wife or your husband, and it's terrible. It's really it tears holes in everything, and you feel it messes with your self-confidence, right?
Yes.
And so, like, if we don't gain control, by starting with a budget in our life, how we expect to go to the country knowing that we cannot survive? The only way you can move to the country is basically saying, God, we have to run to the hills, because at that point, money is not necessary. But by that point, you'll be so lost in the city, like Lot, then you might have to say, forget it. If we don't manage ourselves, it's a serious thing. And the only thing I would like to bring over to you right now, obviously I have to stop, is basically go through your expenditure and your income and find out what is truly necessary, find out where the holes are, and you'll see, am I in trouble? Do I need help? Do I need help to put this thing together? And, is it something where you don't want to look at it because you're thinking that if I don't look, it will disappear? How many people think like that? I just don't know why as human beings, why we think like that. Men do it with their health. I don't need to go to the doctor because, oh man, my antiviruses can handle anything, and we push away the thing and it might be cancer, So we need to make sure that we don't have financial cancer, right? And so go through it. If you need some help putting a budget together, because many people are just clueless when it comes to finances, literally like children, because really society doesn't teach you how to do this. Because if society teaches you how to do this, they wouldn't be pushing loans and interest rates. They make it sound good. Interest, it's in your interest. It's not in your interest. It's not. They're tricking you with these words. It's called debt. It's called slave labor. It's called using their money to make you into their slave, to make them more money. This is it. And if we say to ourselves that I'm not going to be a part of this, I'm going to start thinking outside the box. I'm going to go back to the biblical way of doing finances. You'd be surprised. In the Bible, it talks about crisis. Where in the Bible it talks about crisis? Joseph, 7 years of plenty. Right now, you're in your plenty of time, right? And when they had none, all the nations around it, they could supply. God wants us to be the lenders and not the borrowers, right? So let's be prepared for a crisis by getting our vision of our budget in order. Let's get it in order, because once we start doing that, we gain power. Okay, and somebody mentioned mortgages. Yeah, mortgages is a debt. It's a liability. It's not an investment. As much as people think that a house is an investment, it's more of a liability, because if you lost your job today, you lose your house next week. Not literally, but so the best, obviously cash is best, but obviously saving up for a house and cash is difficult, but put it on a less time when it comes to a mortgage. Put it on a less time. I heard some people say that 15 years or at least a quarter of your household income, 25%, should be toward, it should be more than that. Your house shouldn't be more than that, because it's a burden, and you be cash broke. You might look good. Some of you look very good. You might think I look good, but we could be all broke, right? And, personally, I'm a missionary, right? So all the funds I have, I get a stipend. I don't get a wage like you guys. I get a stipend, but I'm sure that in certain situations, I could survive a crisis more than you guys who are on 6 times or 10 times more money than I am, right? But I put things in place for my family, my children, to make sure that a project like this could say, okay, it can't work anymore. The coronavirus is going to carry on, and I can't teach children anymore. Imagine. Because my main job is being a dean to the boys, and if they're not here, where's my job? So I can survive. I can survive more than 6 months, right?
Mm.
But I've also got active things I can do, which is why other parts of my money are working. It has to be working. Because then your money becomes your slave, not people, the money, right? Becomes your slave. And that's where independence comes in. That's where financial independence, where people are scared of this thing called rich. That's where riches come from. That's where wealth comes from. Don't be scared of that. It's where money works for you. That's when you become independent. When you're working for money, there's only so many hours you can contribute to this world before it becomes too much, you know? And so when your money starts working for you, when you got a surplus in your income, when you have savings, now you can start using. Now you can start doing it. Now you can start being independent. If you need help for this thing, there's loads of books on it. There's loads of stuff on the internet. There's people like me who advises people on how to do this. Find people that are living this. Don't find people who got a title and then they know what to do on theory, but they don't live it because they can't teach you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I leave this part for questions and answers because I know I've probably gone over my time because I do this a lot in class too. So
Wow, Richard, I mean, you have touched on a topic which everyone, and I, myself inclusive, it is a hard topic for so many people. And that's why when we talk about crisis, we find ourselves all of a sudden, we are in a situation where it is so hard. Mm-hmm. Perhaps we've not saved. Perhaps we have a lot of things, a lot of debt on our head. We have a mortgage. People have higher purchase cars. People have all sorts of debts, and really and truly, like you said, it is the society. That's the way it is built itself. And we are so engulfed in it. We are stuck. So this topic, it is so important that we now need to realize to get rid of our debts as soon as possible, because when the time comes, it's going to be hard for us to move.
Of course.
So
yes.
I really do appreciate you coming on this show, and we have so many questions. So quickly, I am going to check the questions and we go through them one by one. I know there are some people put up their hands already and they want to ask questions, but I'm going to ask you, somebody said a question that as you were talking, somebody said, how do you get rid of debt?
Well, I have a proven system. But obviously I can give you a general, but I usually help people out personally. As obviously their living situation, their own. I have a list of their expenses, a list of their situations, and we go through it. Yeah, and there's many different ways. The one I like most is one I read in this book. Basically, it depends on what kind of debt you have. If it's credit card debt and hire purchase loans in terms of cars or stuff like that, you list out all your debts, right? You can do this 2 ways. You can list it from highest interest to lowest interest, or from lowest amount to highest amount. So it depends on how you want to do it. I usually tell people to do it from lowest amount to highest amount, because focusing on something that's small and getting rid of it does something to somebody's, it shows progress. Do you know what I mean? If you had something that's high, you have to get rid of first, because we have to focus on one debt at a time.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you if you are focusing on something small and you get rid of it, you're like, okay, round two, you know, rather than the first one being big and it takes you 6 months. By the 3 months, you know, you're on the ropes and you're going to quit and you're going to spend on a credit card or something just to make yourself feel better, right? But to get yourself out of debt, the first thing I tell people is list your debts from smallest to largest. You pay as much as you pay the more than the balance that you owe on. No, you pay more than the payments that you owe on the let's say credit card. Let's give it a name, a credit card. And then you pay what do you call it, the bare minimum? What do you call it in England now? Just the interest, because some companies just let you pay the interest. So you just pay the interest on the rest of them, and you put all the extra money onto that first debt. And because you're paying it off big, you know, in lump sums, it disappears quickly. And then you move on to the next one. And that money that you're saving from that one now, you move on to the next one. And basically, as you go further and further down into the, you know, getting rid of your debts, depending on how much you have, it gets faster and faster. Because now you have more money to put towards that debt, more money to put towards the next one, until it all disappears. Until when you get to the bottom one, which is so big, sometimes you can put like 500, 600, maybe 1,000 in a month and get rid of it altogether, you know? And so that's with consumer debt. Now to do with mortgage debt, mortgage is a debt, right? It's not an investment, it's a debt. If you lost your job, you lost your house, right? And if you move away, you can't come back to it because it's gone, because the banks will take it. So it's a debt. And so how do we get rid of the mortgage? We pay extra. We pay extra. You find that you don't remortgage, because when you remortgage to find a lesser interest, you're paying lawyers, you're paying banks, it's not good. All you need to do is pay extra. If you find out really how interest rate work, at the beginning of the loan is the highest interest. It's terrible. Let's say you pay a mortgage of 500. 400 of that goes to the bank. 100 of that goes to the principal, for example. That's how it starts. And when you go down into the years, if you got a 30-year loan, it's not until you get to 20 where you're knocking more off your principal than you are off the interest. 20 years. And that's why, for me, if your children are young and they want to get a house, tell them to start saving for it. You only take them 10 years rather than paying 40 years on a mortgage. It take them 10 years to save for a house, right? If they're serious, they can do that. Yeah, pay no interest. Go to the bank, pay cash money. It'll feel good. It'll feel good. But even if they don't save the entire amount with a house that they would like in a certain area, imagine the kind of money that they could have and get a 15-year mortgage instead, and paying extra and paying less interest. You'd be a slave for less. But I understand with a mortgage, that's one of the debts where we can be a bit more lenient with it. But there's certain things that we should not even touch, like credit cards. Percentages like 15%, 24%, you're paying on that. And 90% of the people, or is it 60%? 60% of the people do not pay their balance off every month.
Yes.
You know?
That's why they make a lot of money.
Of course, yes. And this is why they're so willing. Oh, you want some money? Oh, here's, what's that company called? Sorry, I haven't been in England for a very long time. Capital One. That's one.
Oh, yeah.
That's for the broke people. They get that, and they give you the first 200, and then it goes up to 300 and 500, and you're in trouble, right? And so we have to, and you know, stuff like consolidation loans. Terrible. Don't do it. Put your stuff in order. Do it yourself. Consolidation loans only consolidate them. They have to pay them, which the money's not gone. They've just stretched out the money and put extra interest on it, even though the interest looks lower. They stretched out the time. You're feeling proud now because you have done something that I've saved some money for this month, but you've continued the debt for an extra.
But Richard,
yes.
Sorry to interject.
No problem.
There's somebody on this platform right now, and they are looking at you, talking all these things, you know, showing them the good way of getting out of debt. And they're like, I've lost my job. I have a mortgage. I have debt here and there. I have credit cards, and I see no way of being able to pay all this debt, what can you advise? Do you think bankruptcy, something like that, is possible? And if so, what do you do if you get yourself in that kind of state?
Okay, now when I advise somebody, I advise somebody like I would advise myself, right? The first thing I have to do is protect the pillars of my home, right? And what are those? Electricity, the rental mortgage, and then there is transportation, and yeah, basically the four pillar. Let me just, yeah, and like heating, right? So we have this, food, utility, all those things we have to have, right? All the other stuff comes secondary, because the first thing you do in a crisis is that you protect your four walls, right? And you have to look after your home. I wouldn't say to somebody, stop paying rent, because in 2 months you're out of the house. That's what's going to happen to you. I would not say don't pay the electricity bill, because that does something to your consciousness, knowing that you have no electricity in your home. You can't invite nobody home. You can't do nothing. It's embarrassing, and plus it does something to you, and you have to protect what's emotionally going to damage you. But the first thing you do is protect your home, and you have to also say transportation. So do not sacrifice transportation. Obviously, if you hire a purchase car, get rid of it, right? But if it's a paid car or whatever, and it's good to run, if it's an expensive car that you have and it's paid off, sell it, get a cheaper one. But basically, you look after your four walls. And in England, you have a good payment scheme. The government does help you a lot more there than some other countries do. And so the basic thing you should do, if you got no income, obviously when you're using no income, you're not personally earning, but the government gives you something. Look after your four walls. And I'll make a list of the things, because I know I try to remember all the things, but it's more like to do with your rent or mortgage, electricity, gas, and transportation. Right? These are for me, it's the basic, and that falls in with like food as well. That's yeah, so.
Okay, then I understand what you just mentioned. The four walls definitely have to cover your home and make sure your children, you're gonna feed, and the bills, and the crucial bits for the family to stand. But then if you want to get rid of all the debt and you see no way you're gonna be able to pay that debt, what I'm asking is it possible to do a resettlement or to do bankruptcy? What are what is the effect of that, or what is the consequence?
Well, bankruptcy is like a divorce. It's terrible, right? It affects you if you want to get a home in the future, right? If you're not going to pay, like, obviously cash for it and stuff, but it affects a lot of things. You cannot beat it by just saying, okay. It's like saying you're having a disagreement with your wife or your spouse or something, and then just getting rid of them rather than working it through. That who you become is more important than what you have. If you have an outstanding debt, you are, and what I know from the Word of God is that we are obligated to pay it, and I can get quotations on that. And it said that but if you absolutely see no way where you can pay, go to the companies themselves, come up with a payment plan, and they say, oh, if you don't give us anything, a little something is good, and they will reduce and make a deal with you. And sometimes you have government will lead you to these companies. It's government owned. They will teach you they will either do it for you or teach you how to approach these companies that you owe and say, this is what I can pay consistently. I want to cancel my service, or I want to cancel this, but I will need to, and I want to pay you off, and this is all I can pay. And I'm in a real bad situation, but I want to be, I've taken a service and I want to pay for that service, and so this is the best thing for our character, because if we can say every time you get into a major debt, we've had fun with somebody else's money, and then we just claim bankruptcy, because you can always claim bankruptcy. It hasn't changed you. You need to be changed. You need to suffer for the things that you've done, right?
Yeah.
And if you've got yourself a car and a new, nice new suite and all those things in your home, and you're not paying for them, yeah, because you end up in a situation, it's for you. It's not the company's fault that you're in that situation. They've given to you, they've entrusted to you, and it's for us to pay them. And bankruptcy will not solve the problem of who you become for this time being. We need to rise above our current situation to make sure that we will not get into this situation again, and that our mindset will be changed, that we would definitely not be in this situation again. Yeah, so bankruptcy, yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it can reset your situation, but it hasn't changed you. And this to me is the most crucial thing, because you could win the lottery today if you play. You shouldn't play. You can win the lottery today, and you can be more broke in 12 months than you were ever in your entire life. And 80% of people who win the lottery end up that way. So it's a mindset. It's not the money. The money, you can have it. Somebody gave me a quotation once. He said that if you divide the money across the world equally, in a short time, it all end up back in the same hands where it is right now. I thought that was deep. It's because it's a mindset. It's a mindset. And so we have to change it. And bankruptcy doesn't change who we are. Bankruptcy is like a cheat to get back to normal. And then you're thinking, oh, let me start life again. And it's not a good thing. It doesn't change your mindset.
Right. Okay. We have Sister Joy. Joy, she raised her hand. Sister Joy, you there? Could you unmute and ask your question, please?
Oh yes, thank you. I can do that now. Sorry. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just wanted to find out, do you do any programs for men?
Do I do any programs for men?
Yeah, for the husbands.
You mean for the finance?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, well, I do programs for all sorts of ages. Right now, I teach adolescents, and I coach 1 or 2 people who are in their 30s and 40s and stuff like that, in how to deal with the current situation. But I can teach men. I teach people about money, human beings, right? Because I think finance, especially if you're married, I can't just teach the husband, or I can't just teach the wife. When I do finances, and when it comes to especially a couple, or a family, I have to teach both of them. Both of them have to understand, because you can't have a wife going out there spending every weekend on new shoes, new handbag. I got no clothes in the closet. That's the big thing that my wife used to say. I got no clothes in the closet. And I look, and she's got most of the closet. If you're both not on board, then there's going to be very hard for you to do it. And plus there'll be tension. There'll be tension. The husband trying really hard to, secure their future, make them independent, and the wife's there going, no, well, good luck with that, and do her own thing. It's not going to work. You always go down to the lesser, just like really spirituality. The kids always go to the lesser of the parents, and and that will happen also with your money. Your money will always go down to the lesser of the person. Yeah. So okay. I do a program. So if you're interested in a program, I'll leave my details with this, whoever's in charge of this wonderful program here. I'll leave my details, and I really would like to help. Actually, for right now as well, I'm looking for 100 people, right? The 100 is to get statistics, right?
Yes.
100 people who want to change their situation. 100 people who would. I don't want to look for people who I feel like it. I'm looking for people that really want to, I've had it moment, and I want to change their situation. And, I want it to be where I do statistics on this, because I write a book as well. I have a book that's in the writing right now. And we're also looking for people who can give testimonies on how they've overcome, right? And so I have it for men and for women and for teenagers and whatnot to be a part of this. But obviously, it'd be better for some people who have a whatever situation you're in. But with teenagers, so they don't really have an income; they have their parents' income. But with people who are older, you know, that's something that we can do. And so, if anybody is interested in that, just leave your details, or I'll leave my details with the people in charge, and we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Yes, so,
absolutely. Thank you. We'll have your details definitely going forward, Richard, and everyone will get to know about this program that you'll be doing. But we have Roy. Roy, if you could ask your question, because we're trying to wrap up here because of time. Roy, if you can unmute, please, and ask your question. That would be fantastic.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So my question, please, Brother Lawrence, I just want some clarity.
Okay.
How can we advise those who lived from hand to mouth? I'm sorry for the situation. I'm actually outside because of the poor network. So I want you to please explain to us how they can come out from how they can handle that situation in order for them not to be in a debt situation. So please, if you can give some highlights on that.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Well, listen and listen close. This is going to be very enlightening. Okay. I used to live from foot to mouth, right? Because it was that hard to eat. Have you ever tried to eat with your foot? It's difficult, right? So what I realized in these last few years is that being on a budget, right, exposes the leaks in your wallet. Exposes every pound has to have a mission. Or every part of my money has a mission for each month, right? And once you start realizing where your money is going, you realize that you live in hand to mouth or foot to mouth or whatever, because you've not organized yourself. Yeah. And once you organize yourself and discipline yourself to organize yourself, you'll see that you have more room to play with than you first thought of. And then once you start loosening up the money, then you realize that you can start saving, or you can start attacking debt. Because normally people who live hand to mouth are people that are in debt already, and they're paying the bills that they should have been paid years ago or months ago, whenever they got the debt. But they got this debt because they wanted something, they coveted something, and now they're in a situation where they're living from hand to mouth. And so what you need to do is put in a budget together. You see where all your leaks are, get rid of all the things that you don't need, and you realize that you have more money than you realize. And then you can start attacking your debt by putting your debt, starting from the smallest to the largest. You attack the smallest with all your heart, and you pay the minimum payments on the rest of the stuff. And once you start paying the minimum payments on the rest of the stuff, you put all the extra money, not in your pocket, but on the first debt. And then you start, when that debt starts being paid, you go to the next one. And with all the extra money from that last one, you put towards the next one. And by focusing on one debt at a time, by paying minimum payments on the others, you would see that your debt, as you continue, you have more and more money to pay. And once you finish, depending on how much you have, you can basically, now you have an income that you can be proud of, and you can say, oh, man, most people, when they come to me, let me just say this, most people, when they come to me, they say, I never knew that I could live this way on the same income that I had before I started this, right? I never knew that I would live this way and feel this way about my income with the same money that I had before I had this debt. And so what I say to you, my friend, is you can live a better life on the same money that you're on now, is because the issue is not having more money. Because I know people who earn £50,000 a year and still broke like they were on 10,000. And so the problem, look, you guys, all of you here are on different incomes, right? But all of you here are not, you're in different situations, right? But most of you can say at the end of the month that I have nothing in the bank. Now, how can you all be on different money, some higher than others, and all of you have the same zero in your bank? Like, let's just say you're on zero. I don't want to accuse anybody, but let's just say, how does it work? You know? And so it depends. Some of us are more luxurious and some of us are less luxurious, but basically people live up to their means. It's a fact, it's a known fact. And so we need to start changing our mindset, because we live up to our means, because we can start coveting, because we can start seeing things that we want, and because we have a certain income, we deserve that. And it's always what we want is always higher than what we have. And this is the devil's thinking. I'm sorry to put the devil into things, but it is, because it's breaking the commandments. And when you start breaking the coveting commandments, people don't think about the 10th commandment. And so the 10th commandment is serious. Even once you start doing that, you start wanting things and you become enslaved. And this is what happens, and this is why sometimes people end up in the situation. But yes.
Well, Richard, listen, we can listen to you the whole day, because we have buzzing questions, but I know that we're gonna have you again, and the show that you're preparing, most of us will be there. And by the way, to our audience, we will have Richard on our website. So all his details will be there. So please visit our website. All our contents are there. Whatever you miss, visit our website. Because of time, we just have to quickly move on to the next presenter. Richard, may God bless you. You're such a young man, but you're so clued on.